All right, let's do it live on a Tuesday edition of Cleveland Browns Daily. Gibby, I'm down. Like normally I'm high in here. Like my own mic is low in me. That makes sense?
Down low.
Working on it.
I hear you. I think we're both a little.
No, I know. Now you're getting to a place that I like. Someone was over there on that board. Interesting.
Rip.
Someone was. All right.
How about now?
Yeah, we're good now. Now we're living. Now we're
thriving.
That's where you want to be, right in that sweet spot right there.
Awesome. Welcome to Tuesday.
Can I do a story time with you guys out of the gates? It's got nothing to do with anything. Since it's a sunny day and it's beautiful.
I mean, why wouldn't we do that?
So our basketball practice was canceled last night for the 10-year-olds, and so I said, well, we're going to do some homework with the oldest. I said, we're going to do a little basketball history. So I said, normally an hour and a half practice, we're going to watch an hour something basketball history, and we landed on Pistol, the story of Pistol Pete Maravich. Okay. Yes. So I was aware of this story, and I maybe had seen this documentary, I can or not, or at least seen something similar. So we watched it last night. And you of course marvel at all of his abilities. Real quickly, let's do a little quick guess the stats for both of you. And you may already know this. My guess is men of your age and knowledge would know this. Are you aware of what he averaged the 3 years at LSU when he's at LSU per game?
Shaq?
No, Pete Maravich.
Pete Maravich?
Yeah.
Chris Jackson. I'm gonna say 38.
Okay, Gibby.
Could be even in the mid-40s.
I'm going to say 27.
Definitely.
Because I feel like that would be a big number at the time.
Well, it would be. 27 would be a big number. He averaged 44 a game for 3 years.
44, it's my second guess.
For 3 years. So he's the all-time leading scorer in NCAA history.
Is that why he wore 44?
He wore 23 in college. He wore 44 and 7 in the pros.
Yeah.
So he averages 44 a game for 3 years. He's the NCAA's all-time leading scorer, playing only 3 years. He did so without a three-point shot. So somebody did the math as I was looking this up last night. If he had a three-point shot, the math suggested he would average 57 points a game if they had a three-point shot. So statistically speaking, he is Cy Young for college basketball. Like, you'll never get 511 wins. No one's ever averaging 44 points a game for 3 years consecutively. Will never happen, ever. At the end of it, as is prone with many guys of that era, and this led to an interesting conversation with my son, Maravich goes into the depths of alcoholism after his mother dies, and we all know that. He shockingly dies only at age 40 playing pickup basketball of a heart failure. Apparently he had a heart condition that he should have died in his 20s. It was undetected. So he shockingly dies at 40 of heart failure, which led to a conversation with my son. Dad, it feels like we've watched several of these, and a lot of these guys in the 70s ended up in alcoholism. And the best I could come with on the fly was, well, that's a generation that wasn't as open to talk about what bothered them. And so they buried themselves in things that would make them not forget, which led to a heavy conversation with my son. That's not why I'm telling the story. This is. Is he an example? And what is the football equivalent of somebody who statistically, by the way, he's a great pro too, led the NBA in scoring. He's a Hall of Famer, 6-time All-Star. Only he and Steph Curry since Pete did it.
He was Steph Curry before, right? That was even around.
They're the only two guys who've led both college and the NBA in scoring since Pete did it. There were a couple guys way back who did it, probably Wilt, but I don't know who the other two guys are, but there were 4 guys total. Pete and Steph are the only two who have done it since Pete did it. Is there an NFL guy who statistically, and a combination of where he played and when he played, is forgotten a little bit when we look back historically? That's a good one. I like that one.
I think Deacon Jones. I mean, but you talk to your average person, even our age probably, I think it's probably the cutoff, doesn't know that he had the most sacks ever because it wasn't a stat back then. But, I mean, he was considered to be maybe the most dominant pass rusher ever and not regarded. But his name never comes up when you hear, the transcendent talents or, even talking about a Miles or a Teaser. They never go back to a Deacon Jones. So I feel like he's a guy that has to be significantly overlooked given his accomplishment.
Yeah, I think that's a great example of one. Another one that comes to mind for me, it's certainly remembered well by us, but I wonder if could be forgotten by a generation 10 years younger and certainly 20, is Barry Sanders.
Yep. Mm-hmm.
Is Barry Sanders a guy that, when the kids now, when you talk, and running back has been, it's not glamorized the way that it was for a previous generation. Not at all. But there was a time when obviously it was for most of football's existence, tailback was the most important position in football, and the best players played it. And that's all changed in the last 25 years or so. But Barry's a guy, because of where he played and because of when he retired, I don't know if he will, for example, like, I don't know, like, my kids or kids 10 years older than them have a true appreciation of what Barry Sanders was.
Right. No. And he's a guy who left in his prime.
Yeah.
Which is the other part of it that makes him, I think, such a fascinating character from that standpoint, that it was so great and those who watched him and grew up. But it was a brief compared to the other greats, people that you would say were as good as Barry Sanders. It's a brief time.
Yeah, it really is. And played on the same college team, of course, as Thurman Thomas, in the same backfield
crazy.
as Thurman Thomas, and they didn't even really win much at Oklahoma State.
How's that possible?
I have no idea.
In a time when it was all about running anyway.
I have no idea.
It makes no sense.
The year he won the Heisman at Oklahoma State, I want to say he ran for 2,600 or 2,800 yards that season at Oklahoma State. So I don't know. It's just interesting because I think, like, some of the video games do a great job of the kids being aware of these players. The 2K game is unbelievable for that. Like,
what's the best part? That's, I think, the best part. And it does that, honestly, in Madden as well.
Madden does that too.
Yeah,
now.
so they bring back all the legends.
So you can play with Jim Brown. You can play with those
Night
guys.
Train Lane. I mean, you can.
That's
you
cool.
can have, like, you can have anybody.
Okay, that's really cool. Because, like, Bootsy's favorite player is Larry Bird, and I'm trying to explain to him that he hasn't played in 30 years.
Yeah.
You know, but, like, and it's because of 2K. Like, he likes doing the shooting game with him, and that's it.
Because he's
Larome.
He likes that high release.
Yeah.
You got to hold on. Larome's release, you got to hold the button a little bit longer than I like for a release.
I'm a Steph guy with that.
Yes, it's just
when I play with the boys, I find that I have the timing with Steph better than anybody else.
That's what that game's all about, is finding guys that your natural timing just jives with, and then assembling a team full of those people.
When we do transformative turkey and all of that, that will be fun. You versus them.
Oh man,
in that, because they're all in now. I mean, they just are all in with the my team thing with the cards and all.
Oh
that.
yeah.
I don't know what any of it is, but they absolutely love it.
It's a blast.
So. Did you win out last night? You had a Yellowstone Bachelor duel that you were trying to make things work.
It was
with?
As Larry David would say, a compromise when both people are unhappy, but in this case, a compromise was worked out where both of us were indeed happy, and that is that we watched some Yellowstone, so that we were able to. We're now through season 3. That was episode 7, so we only have 3 to go in season 3. And
wow, you're cruising.
It's such a treat. I mean, it's a delight at every turn. I really enjoy the show tremendously, and I really want to go back home on the Ponderosa.
Sure.
I miss it. It's given me a great longing. And then after that, we got through the commercial, so that way we could watch Bachelor commercial, because the notion of waiting for a commercial, watching the next segment of The Bachelor is outrageous. That show is plummeting, in my opinion. It's awful. It's hard to watch. So I'm allowed, though. She's very I'm allowed to just go surf Twitter and do
full rogue. I'm here, but not
right.
Yeah. Is the host thing a problem?
No, so Jesse Palmer's hosting now.
Oh, okay.
And he's actually pretty good, because he's just
he's exactly like it. Yeah.
But he's playing Chris Harrison, but just with Jesse Palmer playing Chris Harrison, which is fine. He's like saying all the Chris Harrison things.
Yeah.
He's got kind of the same Chris Harrison delivery, except he's Jesse Palmer. So it works, because I just wanted Chris Harrison doing Chris Harrison things, but now I get Jesse Palmer doing Chris Harrison things.
Fine.
So net, they are Chris Harrison things. Yeah.
Why has it lost its way?
It just needs a change up of the four. I just think
it's just too played out.
It's too played out.
Yeah, it's too played out.
And the notion again, the notion that just because you're on this show, all of the girls are going to love The Bachelor, or all of the men are going to be in love with The Bachelor just because they're on the show, that's outrageous.
Well, of course.
I mean, that makes no sense.
That's why he's like Flavor of Love.
And then you got
because everybody knew the score. Everybody knew what was going on.
And in this case, you have, then you get into the right reasons people. You're not here for the right reasons.
Oh, you love the right reasons talk.
And that's then you start talking about other people. Once you talk about other people, forget it. You're toast. I mean, it's I could write a strategy guide for these people. Now, one guy had his buddy who was a big Bachelor fan, wrote him a strategy guide of all the things to do and to say and to it was quite, honestly, if you're going on the show, why wouldn't you have that? And they found it or something in his room. He got thrown off. She was like, you're not here for the right reasons. He's like, but I am. Yeah, it was a manifesto.
Oh, I
basically.
love manifestos.
Yeah, who doesn't love a manifesto?
Everybody. They're the best.
So
absolutely the best. All right. I watched episode 1 of Ozark last night.
Of season 1?
Of season 7, whatever we're on. 4.
Oh, okay. You're caught up.
Right. The new season launched. So I just watched 1. I'm want to spread pace myself.
We're waiting, but is it great?
Yeah, I just came away with this. I think Laura Linney's as terrifying as any actor.
I don't like her at all.
She's as terrifying as any character that's ever been on HBO. Tony Soprano, Heisenberg from Breaking Bad, which obviously was AMC. Whoever the most villainous, just terrifying humans are, her on that show is it. The only thing I would tell you is they do a recap. So I haven't seen this show in 3 years, probably, whenever the last time it aired. I think it was during COVID.
Was it that long ago?
Yeah, I think
and it ends with a bang.
Right. Quite literally.
Yeah.
So I think going back, I think 19 is when I watched this, was right around COVID.
Okay.
When this
All
watched.
right.
So I spent a lot of time going, now, wait, what? What is this from? Because I also find when you launch them all at once, maybe you don't retain as much because you're just ready for the next one.
Too much, yeah.
So there was a lot of stuff that I couldn't remember certain parts of it and certain of the references. But, yeah, it's off to a good start. Here's some individual awards for our guys. 3 players have been named to the Pro Football Writers of America All-NFL and All-AFC teams. Nick Chubb, Joel Bitonio, Myles Garrett, all voted Monday to the All-NFL and All-AFC lists. The Browns were also one of 5 teams to place a league-high 3 players on the All-NFL team. The Cincinnati Bengals did not have one. Not one made the All-NFL team for the Bengals.
What?
Yeah. They didn't have anybody.
Jamar Chase?
Mm-mm.
Is he even on the LAFC team?
I did not look at that, but I know that they didn't have a guy on the All-NFL team.
Well, would you rather have that, or would you rather still be playing?
Well, that's what I was thinking. Like, there's something about these lists, right?
Are they the only team in the Final Four that do not?
I didn't go that far into the research.
There's definitely the Chiefs do. I mean, I think
definitely
we can say
Aaron Donald does.
Aaron Donald does, and probably Debo.
Yeah, I would think if Chase isn't the receiver, I would think the receivers are Cooper Kupp, Adams too. I mean, if you have 3 receivers,
let's look at.
You go Adams, Kupp.
I don't want to pop. Stevie, will you please look this up?
Yeah, Stevie. Stevie's in Minot. Gibby, why can't we have Stevie join us from Minot from time to time? He's not doing anything.
We can 100% do that.
Yeah, you know what I mean? I mean, why limit ourselves?
It's the perfect time of year.
Yeah, have him listening in from Minot.
All right, the Niners have. Here we go.
We can schedule him for 3:15 every day. It'll be great.
All right,
just like everything else. 3:15.
All NFL team. The Niners get on the All NFL team. They get Nick Bosa.
Okay.
So yes, so everybody's got somebody. The Rams have Cooper Kupp. The Rams have Aaron Donald. The Rams have Jalen Ramsey. The Kansas City Chiefs may not have anybody either. Kansas City Chiefs, no, it's Rodgers, not Mahomes. Tight end is Andrews, not
Kelsey.
Not Kelsey.
No Tyreek Hill.
No Tyreek
Nobody
Hill at
on their
receiver.
line.
It's Adams, Kupp. Nobody on the line. Defensively, it's Bosa, Garrett, Aaron Donald, Cam Hayward, Parsons, T.J. Watt, Devondre Campbell, Diggs, Ramsey, Bayard, Poyer. Yeah, so the Chiefs do not have anybody
and Bengals
either.
Have
but
nobody.
In the All-AFC team, Burrow is your quarterback. Jamar Chase and Tyreek Hill are your receivers. Creed Humphrey is the center, so he makes it there. Chris Jones is one of the defensive tackles, so he makes it there as well. And that would be it. So
let's just think about what you just said. I realize this isn't all pro, but I mean, just think about what you just said. Would that ever happen in baseball or NBA or the other sports? What you just described, which was that? If you were redrafting the NFL, 100 times out of 100, the pick would be Patrick Mahomes. 100 times out of 100, the number 1 pick would be Patrick Mahomes. Nobody would not take Patrick Mahomes. Oh, my gosh. Are you okay?
We okay?
Are we okay?
Are we okay?
Are we okay?
Okay. Help is on the way. We're okay.
Oh,
okay.
Tepid thumb, but that was a good.
That was not. That was a
not
lukewarm
good.
thumb.
That was a
at best.
very in a solid limp.
Ooh, a hitch in the giddy up.
Oh
no, you hate to see it.
Oh, that stinks.
I
think we're okay.
Is the winner.
I can say we're okay.
I think we're okay.
You got to have a rubber-based soul. She's okay.
She's okay. We want to give her a hug, though.
She's got such spirit.
Allison, she does. A zest. She's
zest for life.
Looks like she's got a Jim Brown jersey.
You got to go with a
transporting
rubber.
it.
You have to go with a gummy soul in these conditions.
There's
gummy
no
soul.
doubt.
Yeah, any sort of hard soul, you have no chance in these
moisture,
conditions.
You can see the.
Yeah, it's accumulating.
You could look at.
We got our best people on it.
You could see this.
Murph was quick to get down there and get it clean, wasn't he?
But look
You
at look at the scuff there. He didn't help at all.
Didn't even help.
His hands have remained in his pockets the entire time.
He has done
He's
nothing
observing.
to help. Like it's all going to hell
So,
around him. We have cataclysmic injuries potentially. People are cleaning things.
He's very calm.
Murph, very
Monica
calm.
jumped right in there.
Monica
She's
was
helpful.
at it, making things happen.
So-
Murph, hands don't come out of the pocket, just observing, supervising role.
So one of the most lovely, positive people in the office was walking by. And so outside of our studio, if you're looking through Beau's eyes straight across there's a giant, it's not a mural because it's a painting, but it's a giant photograph that is a whole wall,
Yeah.
substantial. Like there I am in my suit in that picture. Nonetheless, that's what you're looking at. But in between, basically, wherever that picture is orange. Is it linoleum?
I was going to go linoleum, and I haven't said that word in a lot of
since
years.
Since 76.
Since I was a wee little lad.
Since a wee lad.
But yes,
yeah.
that's what it looks like.
It does appear to be linoleum. And then there are strips of carpet. Most of it, the walkways are carpeted, but there is some white linoleum. Maybe it's the white, brown, orange stripe. I just put that together, as a matter of fact.
Oh, look, I bet it
maybe
is.
that's what you got going on there.
I know. We used to have a helmet in here, and we could look at it, but I don't know.
Yeah, but that's right. I think about it. It's the orange helmet, then the brown, then the white, then brown again. Now we just need some orange helmet on that side. But
Yeah.
So she transitioned from the carpet right to the linoleum. And in these conditions, as you know, if you've been outside or there's any moisture that has been there,
Yeah.
and there is a water, and then she caught a little, you can see.
Skid mark.
You can see that, yeah, you can see it.
Yeah. All right,
But
we're
I'm glad she's okay.
We can report she's okay.
Yes.
So
Fret not.
is there an example of another sport where the guy who you would take number one overall 100 times out of 100 doesn't even make the All AFC team?
No, and there's quite a possibility that Josh Allen would be number 2 right now.
Correct.
And he's
Nowhere.
not represented at all.
Nowhere to be found.
I'm not sure the Bills outside of Jordan Poyer are represented at all.
Yeah.
Wow.
Pro Football Writers on this one, huh?
Yeah.
There you go.
By the way, they have named as well, just so you know, Greg Newsome, JOK, and punt returner Demetric Felton all voted to the Pro Football Writers Association All-Rookie Team.
Oh, there you go. Good job out of those guys.
Yeah.
Lot of fun on the program today. We'll get into some free agency. Some of these lists coming out of the top 50 free agents. We will have that. Tom Brady's some interesting comments on what to do for him.
And some news.
And a little bit of news on that front. Daniel Jeremiah's mock 1.0 is out. Urban Meyer, boy, you can't help but being candid. You can't believe what he says with Dan Dockich and what he didn't know.
Goodness gracious.
Go ahead.
All right, real quick, some actual news coming in right now. The Bears have finalized a deal to hire Chiefs Assistant Director of Player Personnel Ryan Poles as their next general manager per league sources. Now, this is a story in and of itself. He was picked up. He was picked up at the baggage claim at O'Hare, and so you had a feeling that was coming. But why is this a big deal to us? Well, as our good friend Courtney Cronin reports, Ryan Poles was supposed to interview in Minnesota tomorrow as one of the 2 finalists for the Vikings GM job. With him headed to Chicago, Browns Vice President Kwesi Adolfo-Mensah, who is interviewing in Minnesota today, is the favorite for the Vikings GM job.
Well, that would be great for Kwesi.
Rap Sheet's now reporting that as well.
Sources
now
have
expected to work to hire him.
Jonathan Jones saying, by the way, regardless of what's going on in Chicago, Adolfo-Mensah very well may have been the pick in Minnesota all along. Sources have indicated since the weekend he was the leading candidate there. So good chance that he will be leaving our building and joining the Minnesota Vikings. We will certainly keep you up to date on that. Some more here. Former Lions and Colts head coach Jim Caldwell is in the Bears building today. Matching the experience Caldwell with the upstart Poles is a game plan that some around the league now believe the Bears easily could deploy.
I would like that for Justin Fields. I think a steadying voice would be good.
Yeah,
for Fields there. So, and good for Kwesi. Very good if that works. A great organization and one that people here obviously are quite familiar with. So, good job out of you. We'll get into some free agency, both from the television side of things, where this is some fascinating stuff here. We will get into some of the rumors about what television could look like next year in the National Football League in terms of who's calling these games, plus actual free agency. So we got a lot of fun in store for you.
Tons.
Off and running here on a Tuesday. Cleveland Browns Daily, 850 ESPN Cleveland. Advice out there about gambling, from secret methods to picking lottery numbers to betting big when you're on a roll. These myths can lose you money and get you in a lot of trouble. So before you wager, find out what's real and what isn't at keepitfunohio.com. Speaking of gambling, I had a guy this morning write into me and tell me that he went to the Bengals game in Nashville against Tennessee. And maybe you guys went to a lot of games in a lot of different places. But he said that there were betting parlors with live odds at the stadium from BetMGM.
What? Interesting. Inside the stadium where you could walk into an enclave.
Very possible that, there's do you know if you're inside the stadium or not? But he certainly seemed like it was near it, it was. And I know we're headed there.
Sure.
I think New York State is that way. It close to the Bills Stadium, I'm fairly confident you can make bets, if not in the stadium.
Live odds, right? Yeah. I mean, eventually it'll be at your seat, but it's weird. The NFL goes to such great lengths to make sure everybody has a level playing field. That would seem to be not, with some states behind. And obviously in Ohio, God willing, we get this thing sorted out by 2029. I mean, hopefully get enough time. I know you really got to look at all the parameters of it.
Listen,
what did they say next year? I mean, this thing should have been two years ago. But I digress. Did you see this on the television network side? I love this. This is all fascinating. This is from Andrew Marchand, who's the best. He does this for the New York Post. And there's a big shuffle that could be happening in the on the A teams, if you will. And Amazon is a big part of this. So Amazon paid a lot of money for the Thursday Night Football gig to stream it exclusively on Amazon. So next year, if we're on Thursday night, although except for the local markets, in the local markets you can still watch it locally. But if you're not in the local market, and you want to watch Thursday Night Football, and we're on it, the only way is with Amazon Prime. Now, the good news is I think 98% of the planet is Amazon Prime subscribers.
Yes.
So I think you're probably safe, pal.
As long as you have a subscription to Amazon, you get Prime, do you not?
You have to have the Prime membership, I think.
Yeah, it's $99 for the year.
You might as well get the Prime.
Sure.
Free 2-day shipping.
Free 2-day shipping. Although even that, not always anymore.
Well, now sometimes it's free same-day shipping.
Sometimes same day, sometimes 3 weeks. Like, it feels like there's a... they got us so in, I don't even question it anymore. Like, they're forever, it was like, well, it's cheaper. I don't even know if it is anymore.
I mean, I feel like you're a stockholder, Bishop.
So, they're making a big push to land an A-list team here with Al Michaels, as we've said before, for their Thursday Night Football play-by-play gig. They're working on bringing NBC Sunday Night Football producer Fred Gaudelli to oversee its game presentation. I would imagine he would still do Sunday Night Football, though.
I don't know about that.
Really?
I mean, that's a huge get because
he's huge.
That guy has done it at a high level for a long time.
Didn't Al bring him from Monday Night Football to Sunday Night Football? I think he and Al have been together for a long time.
I mean, I find it hard to believe that NBC is going to allow double dipping.
I don't know. I mean, there's precedent for it all the time. Strahan does Good Morning America on ABC, and he does Fox pregame show. And Alex Rodriguez does ESPN and Fox Baseball.
If he's in charge of the look and presentation.
Well, that's true.
I don't know.
Maybe they would view it as not a competitor.
NBC's it looks like they're not putting up a fight to let Michaels walk away.
I think that has more to do with – it probably has more to do with the fact they've been paying Tirico for all these years, and they have to justify that in some way. And Al is getting up there, although I still think he's the best in the business when it comes out of it. There are reports out that say Michaels' analyst in the booth could be Troy Aikman. Fox is expected to offer between $12 and $13 million, but it might not be enough. Drew Brees and Chris Collinsworth are also options. It can't be Brees.
Not after this
it can't be
past weekend.
And I was going to bring this up. I hate to say it.
Nope.
He's not good.
No.
He adds nothing.
No. It's not for everybody. The great Joe Montana tried this too. Did not work.
Not great.
It's just not for everybody.
Did you listen to Simmons and Cousin Sal?
No, I didn't. I haven't.
Simmons and Cousin Sal they did a good segment on it.
On Breeze?
Yeah. And I think part of my take did as well. It just is. It's
no, you don't have it. Just not it.
He's not adding. Not adding anything.
No, nothing. And you almost have to be coached out of that. I mean, even Gibbe, when you're running your radio stations and all of that, a lot of times you get athletes when they're fresh out of pro football or out of pro sports, when their first inclination is they're so coached to say nothing. It's hard to get them in the beginning sometimes to say something.
And that is what separates a lot of those guys from the ones that want to do it but don't end up being able to do it. And guys like Joe Thomas.
Yeah.
You got to have personality, and you got to be able to deliver information, be informative, and be entertaining.
So the next question is who could replace Aikman if he goes to Thursday Night Football? Saints head coach Sean Payton mentioned there, and there was a lot of smoke about him potentially not coming back in New Orleans. So then that would be
I'll tell you who
Joe
should be
Buck
on
and
that
Sean
list.
Payton.
Joe Thomas.
Yeah.
I think he absolutely could step right into the top one tomorrow.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah,
The
I
Hoff could
agree.
do it.
No, there's no question. I think the other kind of wild card in all of this would be Manning. Like, wouldn't one of these things be right up his alley if he doesn't get ownership in Denver?
Correct. Yes.
Like, he doesn't want to call a lot of Colts and Broncos games. Fine. Do the NFC package on Fox with Joe Buck. I mean, that seems like that would be a natural. And then the same thing on the why wouldn't he want to do a thing with Al Michaels? Like, do Thursday Night Football with Al Michaels. The problem is, though, is Al Michaels and Troy Aikman, are they going to call those games? Gel. Right. I feel like Michaels is a pro. Like, he's a big B. Gel with anybody. But, like, are you going to want to call those games? Those Thursday Night Football games are dogs, a lot of them.
Unless they're going to change the way that we view those.
Like, make those, like, you can't usurp. There's
No.
too many people eating at the trough.
What about? I'll throw it out there again. He's a big fan of his. The Hoff on Thursdays. He's already doing Thursdays, and they're canceling, getting rid of all that.
I agree. It just seems clearly what they're trying to do here is go for the biggest thing ever. Like, they're trying to create the biggest spectacle ever.
Do you think Aikman and Buck should always just be together? Am I wrong about that?
No, you're not wrong, Walter.
It feels like they should.
This is the interesting thing.
Breeze is not an option.
If all these dominoes fall, Fox really doesn't have a color analyst to step up into that A-team role. Charles Davis, remember, went to CBS.
And he's the number 2 at CBS.
Who's the Fox 2?
So the Fox 2 is Greg Olson. Fox 3 is Schlereth. You got Jonathan Vilma. You got Moose. Daryl Johnston.
Is Aqib Talib with Fox?
Okay.
He is, yeah. Yeah, he and Gus Johnson are with Fox.
Mark Sanchez, Aqib Talib. Like, you don't really have.
No.
And so Tirico would step into Sunday night?
He'd step into Sunday
with
night.
Collinsworth?
Well, yeah, but unless Collinsworth bounced for Thursday, and then you'd have – I mean, the reason they paid Breeze is to do this, to be this. Like, that's why they have him on Notre Dame football, to get the at-bats. This is all to replace Collinsworth.
Have you guys watched them on Notre Dame games?
Yeah. Their thing was Tirico and Breeze to pass the torch from Michaels and Collinsworth to Tirico and Breeze. That's not tenable.
Here's the thing that I think is hard for me to get my head around with Drew Brees is that I feel like he had to, because of physical limitations, right? He had to think his way around the football field, and obviously he had uncanny accuracy. His ability to throw the football where he wanted to was maybe the best ever.
Yeah.
But it feels like when he's doing this, he's not in that thoughtful mode. It was just kind of strange.
It really was.
Honestly, listening to him. And I thought that he also, I think, is still, maybe because he must be a nice guy, it feels like it's very difficult for him to be critical.
Oh, clearly. I mean, there's just no interest in it.
None.
No.
But again, that's what separates your ability to criticize people that are your friends.
Well, you don't even have to be critical. Like, Romo's not critical that much. He's so overwhelmingly positive, and he's so, like, his attitude towards it is so infectious that that you can kind of you don't have to crush people. I mean,
no.
I don't think that's it.
No, but he'd be like, I really would want to have that one back there, Jim. That's a throw he's got to make.
Very little personality at all with Breeze.
There's
just nothing there. I mean, it's just very, very flatline.
Think about this. A couple of years ago, your Fox color analysts were Aikman, Spielman, Charles Davis, Brady Quinn. Chris Sims was doing a couple games a year. Like, you had all these stable of guys, and now, I mean, there's.
Yeah, CBS they've got all the guys right now.
Yeah.
So, I mean, obviously Manning is the one wild card out there that would, you'd pay $20 million to have the association. I'm not somebody who cares too much who's calling the game. I don't watch a game or not watch a game because of it.
Sure.
But there are those voices that are synonymous, and it's hard to imagine the NFC on Fox without Buck and Aikman. That seems.
I agree.
It could lead to a lot of dominoes, a lot of moving around from CBS to Fox, vice versa.
Yeah. Yeah, it does. It really does. It's hard to imagine Chris Collinsworth leaving NBC either because they use all the PFF stuff. They're on NBC Sport. Is it NBC Sportsnet or whatever it is?
Peacock.
Now Peacock.
Yes.
Like they have all of that stuff that's all PFF lined up.
What's he going to do about his kid?
Well, the egoless Jack Collinsworth, like you got to make sure that he's taken care of going forward. None. I mean, the kid is just, there's nothing from an ego standpoint.
It's very strange.
Which part?
All
Where
of
do you
it.
want to start?
Yeah. Yeah.
I think watch those segments is when he's on the field is with Rodney Harrison. They're strange to watch.
Yeah, I'm not sure what they're going for.
It almost.
I don't think Harrison is crazy about it.
I don't
Clearly.
think so either.
Clearly,
I can
he's
say
crazy.
from the only couple times that I've been down there with them. So what Sunday night was Baltimore.
Yeah.
There's very little like banter interaction
When they're not on air.
Not on
yeah, that comes across on air
right.
that there is almost a distaste.
You could say.
Yeah. Well, think about being Harrison though. You were in New York City doing that show
With
in the
DP back
comforts.
in the day.
Yeah, with
and
Dan
Dungy,
Patrick and Dungy and yeah.
pure joy. And I know it was regarded as pure joy by the individuals involved.
Yes. Yeah.
First-hand sources.
Pretty good setup there.
Yeah.
On that one. Well, it'll be interesting to see where this all shakes out. Michaels and Collinsworth will have the Super Bowl, of course, coming up in a couple of weeks in Los Angeles. So a good way for the great Al Michaels to say goodbye to NBC if that is indeed the way that he goes on that front. ESPN.com's Kevin Sievert with an early look at the top 50 free agents this offseason. Where do our guys rank? And is our shopping list that we can start to pull from some of these guys as well? We'll get into that coming up next. You listen to Cleveland Browns Daily on 850 ESPN Cleveland. Here for my friends at EOX Vantage. EOX Vantage connects to core systems that don't talk. From reporting and analytics to insight and decision-making, gain a more complete real-time picture of your business. You can eliminate those Excel nightmares that you know that you have, and you'll get rid of those from all of your business processes. You can visualize your important data in one place, gain real-time insight to make data-driven decisions on performance through role-based visualization dashboards. With EOX Vantage, you can benefit from lower overall costs, better alignment between technology and specific business needs, scalability, ease of deployment, and management. EOX Vantage makes your data work smarter. It's as simple as that, moving your business forward. You're all about growth. Your software should be about it too. And with EOX Vantage, your company is going to scale effortlessly. You can learn more about EOX Vantage by visiting www.eoxvantage.com. We've got some news in terms of one of our guys in Minnesota on an interview there. The Bears firming some things up, and there's some ancillary kind of sidebar things off of that. Hit it, Z.
Yeah, so for the Bears, they're hiring Ryan Poles from the Chiefs. As a reminder, the Chiefs will receive 2 third-round compensatory picks from the NFL once his hiring is official, 1 in 22 and 1 in 23 for hiring a minority candidate, and the Chiefs will receive those picks for grooming a minority executive candidate. Now, for the Browns, the rule says 2 seasons with the team. Kwesi would qualify for that. It has been 2 full calendar years, but 2 seasons. So the expectation would be, again, not confirmed by the league, but the expectation would be that the Browns, should Kwesi Adolfo-Mensah be hired to be the general manager of the Vikings, the Browns would also receive a compensatory third-round selection in 2022 and in 2023 as well.
Well, that'd be big news on that front.
Huge
You'd
news.
be thrilled for him, and you pick an extra third. And it does seem like it's heading that way with all of the reporting that you're seeing in the NFL at this point. This is ESPN.com's Kevin Seifert with an early look at the top 50 free agents this offseason. 2 of our guys making that list, Jadeveon Clowney, number 17, David Njoku, number 49 on the list. What do you think of where those 2 guys landed, Z?
Number 49 for the Chief. I mean, he's the guy that I don't expect as I'm going through this list right now. We're kind of putting things together of who we would want to see back and you know, where you would be looking. I think the Chief, doesn't matter what the number is, I definitely want to see him back. I think that's fine. I think he's a guy who really has a chance, and I would hope he can become a featured guy. And obviously with Clowney, number 17 here on this list, I said absolutely yes, you want to keep him here as well.
Were you aware that the receivers who are on this list, I guess I didn't thought of it.
A lot of them, but again, these are lists that are made now.
Sure.
How many of these guys are actually going to truly become free agents? That's a very, very different story.
Yeah, but I mean, you're talking about, these are monster names. When you talk about
Yes.
Devontae Adams, Mike Williams, Chris Godwin on this list coming off of injury.
I know, that's the thing. Poor Godwin.
Yeah.
You got Allen Robinson, and the question is, does Allen Robinson still have it after a real down year in Chicago? And I think that is very much a question that is not answered. You know, DJ Chark was a Pro Bowler in 19. He's only 25. He's got speed. He's a guy that would be certainly, you know, maybe you look at, is he recovered from injury? That we do not know at this point.
Yeah, and the other thing, Christian Kirk, just 25. He certainly had some big moments with Arizona. He's on this list. Juju's on this list. Michael Gallup's on this list. Of course, he was hurt this year. You know, the one thing as we're just kind of paging through this and looking at all of this, the one thing that you don't see a lot of is one thing that we do need now, which is on the defensive line interior. There aren't a lot of those guys on this list as I've gone through it here quickly. There's some edge guys, but not a lot of interior defensive line guys on this list.
I mean, are there any?
I just was sure. I said that. I couched that with not many. There might not be a single as I'm going through this.
Now, I thought, and maybe I was wrong, but I thought that Jaron Reed only signed a 1-year deal with the Chiefs, but maybe he signed a 2-year deal. I thought he signed a 1-year deal, and he would be somebody that I would be interested in on the interior of the defensive line.
So you have to go down to like the others receiving votes. Akeem Hicks, just the one defensive tackle on that list. Look, this is something that went from something that you didn't know if you'd have to address much to something it feels like you're definitely going to have to address now on the interior of the defensive line. You're going to have to address that in the draft and potentially in free agency as well.
There's no doubt that the interior defensive line is something you're going to have to look at. So he signed a 1-year deal with the Chiefs, $5 million guaranteed, up to $7 million total. So he's on a 1-year deal. So Jaron Reed would be a free agent, and I'm pretty sure Jaron Reed played pretty well this season. So he would be a name that I would certainly be put on your Browns radar in the interior of the defensive line. 3 sacks this year. I think he's a pretty good player. I don't know. I guess he did not have a great year according to their grading system. He did. Then maybe that's why he's not on the list. Maybe he took a step back. Former second-round pick who was really, really good for the Seahawks for a while there. But yeah, that's not out there in spades. That's for sure. What is out here, as you mentioned, receivers, and there are enough guys out on the edge. That, even if you didn't get Clowney, that there would be fallback options. And I think one guy who isn't, I didn't see him on this list, and you can correct me if I'm wrong, is Demarcus Lawrence.
I didn't see him either.
So Demarcus Lawrence, I'm going through the spot track, but I believe Demarcus Lawrence is, this would be the year that they could have a full out from him if they wanted to. So if they were looking to move on and not pay him, because his cap hit this year would be $27 million, which is significant, this would be the year that they would look to move on from him. So that he's a name that is possible with the coming out of the Cowboys as well. That would be another one of those stud edge rushers.
What do you think happens with Adams? Like,
so
here they say it's tied to Rodgers, but
is there a scenario in which they're able to have both Rodgers and Adams back at their current situation?
You'd have to redo Rodgers. You'd have to do Rodgers, 2-year, $100 million with $70 million to sign. I mean, you'd have to change Rodgers' contract entirely to make it. They're $40-some million over the cap.
All right, so they just wrote about this at Over the Cap, the future for Aaron Rodgers and the Packers. And I'm trying to look at this real quick if it would come up, but it's obviously taking a long time. Yeah,
they're in jail, but there's
total jail.
Look, the Chiefs were in jail too, and then they went 10 years, $400 million on Mahomes, and they were to keep them all. They had got Tyreek locked up, they got Kelsey locked up, and they had Pat locked up. So there's a way to do it. It's all just that guaranteed money and redoing those contracts. So I guess it seems to me, based on the brief reading I've done on it, we're not doing Packers Daily, but based on the brief reading I've done on it seems like if they redo Rodgers with an extension, then there's possibilities there.
Yeah.
But he has to sign a new contract with Green Bay with a lot of guaranteed money and, a smaller hit.
I mean, right now, and here why I mentioned, for one of the reasons I mentioned Demarcus Lawrence and the Cowboys, Saints are $74 million under, Packers are $40 million under, Cowboys are $21 million under the cap right now, the projected for 2022. So that's a problem. When you look at effective cap space, they have effective -77 to the Saints and -50 to the Packers, -24 Cowboys. Browns, in case you were wondering, have $28 million of cap space.
$70 million for the Saints?
Negative.
Oh, negative.
Under the cap.
Wow.
I don't understand how that's even a thing. The Dolphins have the most. They have 70, Jags 60, Bengals 60, Chargers 60. That's why Mike Williams, for example, on this list, there's no way he gets out of there. Browns are kind of upper middle of the pack, but definitely right kind of in the middle.
The Saints have a negative. They are 70 over.
70 over the cap right now. Packers 50 over the cap right now. Cowboys 24 over the cap right now.
Man.
So
someone's got some work to do. No wonder Sean Payton's undecided on what he's going to do for his future.
Yeah. Exactly.
Yeah. A lot of receivers on this. Jesse Bates, I mean, I can't imagine him not being back in Cincinnati.
No, especially with and we just said they've got all that money.
Yeah. A lot of good safeties on this. Honey Badger on this list. Not that we're in the market for that, but just trying to see, one thing we always do when it comes time to this time of year, whether it's free agency or the draft, is, what are the positions of depth? And it does seem like there is – the good news for us is via free agency and the draft, there's a lot of receivers. This is a receiver-heavy NFL draft, and there's a lot of prime free agents, although historically those don't work out very well, but a lot of prime free agents that are available at wide receiver in this free agent crop.
Yeah, it's interesting to me, and correct me if I'm wrong, but did Brandon Cooks not even get a mention?
No, not a mention. I looked for him.
And not even in the bonus free agent names to watch?
Uh-uh.
Am I wrong about his? I mean, and Cordero Patterson had a pretty darn good year to not even get into the top 50.
It's weird how people view him. Do you think they just view that as Atlanta gimmicky situation?
Maybe, but I mean, he was clearly productive. No, I mean,
very, yeah. Yeah, and Cooks is one it seems like no matter where he is, he produces.
I mean, Cooks has been operating on Oh, no, so he is under contract. He's under contract. He's not a free agent.
Brandon Cooks is not.
It says he's under contract for $16 million cap hit, 7.5 in dead cap. But maybe they were talking about they were releasing him because he was asked at the end of the year in their closeout press conferences, like they were moving out about if he was going to be with here or if he was going to be hit the market. And he said, that's not up to me. It's up to the agent, but I'm always, prepared for whatever it is that I do. So I'm not sure what he's going to do.
Yeah, he would be somebody, you've mentioned him before. I mean, he kind of fits the bill of what you're looking for with an ability to get deep. And everywhere he is, he produces.
He just produces.
Yeah, every single place he is, he just produces. Is today the day, on another note, is today the day that Major League Baseball does its the Hall of Fame stuff? And this is the last shot for Bonds and Clemens?
Wow.
And it looks like they're not going to. It looks like Bonds isn't going to make it on the early things. It looks like he's not going to make it. I don't think. I just got news for like the baseball writers. I don't think anybody cares about what Barry Bonds did 20 years ago, and to hold him out of the Hall. Like
you
at a certain age, nobody
cares.
cares.
Put him in.
Of course, he's the best hitter of our lifetime.
He still had to hit a ball with pitchers who were also juicing.
By the way, it wasn't illegal in the sport. The sport was complicit in it. They marketed it. They benefited off of it. He wasn't being tested. What do you have?
Whoa.
What do you got? What do you got?
Let me just verify it. You always want to make sure you're verified. Ian Rappaport reporting, Sean Payton has informed the Saints he is stepping away.
Wow.
I believe we had that 20 minutes ago.
Wow.
Miss a segment, miss a lot.
Wow.
Well, you know what I do on that? Jera.
Well, that's a PFT commenter has a gif of Jerry winking and pointing over and over and over.
Jera. That's it. It's Jerry Jones. Jerry Jones not putting up with what happened. The pressure to win is now. Mike McCarthy fired, Sean Payton hired. Right? I mean, that's simple, right? They've danced at each other danced across the room at each other for a decade plus, 20 years.
So it is the reporter Nick Underhill, who covers the Saints for he covers Saints for New Orleans.football, Saints analyst at WWL-TV. He says Sean Payton is retiring, per source. Obviously, there's a ton of talk that he will be stepping away, and obviously everybody immediately is talking Cowboys.
Yeah. For sure. Yeah. I mean, that's what you do. That's where you go. I mean, he Dak all those weapons, right?
Kevin Cole from Pro Football Focus says Sean Payton looked at $70 million over the cap and Taysom at quarterback, and they have a magic one where he's shaking his head. He goes, "I'm not going to be here."
That's a franchise right there that you got ownership uncertainty with Tom Benson's dying. You got his former wife or his widow and his kids fighting over the franchise. You have a market with no corporate money. There's no corporate money in New Orleans, none.
Yep.
And like how much of that circumstance was Breeze and Peyton together, what that thing has been the last 20 years. Like they've got a hit on this one. They've got a hit, man.
Yeah.
You know. That's big news. Today's moving day in the NFL, kids. A lot of jobs.
We've been waiting.
Yeah. Talked about this yesterday. Like, why has nothing happened on this front? Well, it's all starting to happen today, and you could have a whole bunch of these. You got something given?
By the way, the big names on the Baseball Hall of Fame ballot, obviously Bonds, Clemens in their 10th and final years on the ballot. David Ortiz and A-Rod are both in their first year on the ballot.
A-Rod's going to be one to watch because I think it's amazing how baseball has allowed him, even though it was illegal when he tested positive both times.
Yeah.
Twice. He tested positive when they were testing. They weren't even testing with those other guys. Nobody was testing. Nobody cared. Baseball was complicit. The writers were complicit. Everybody was. When A-Rod was there, everyone was holding their feet to the fire, and somehow he's the face of baseball on Fox and ESPN. But these other guys,
about doing
these other guys are
Manning
shunned.
cast with him for
who's,
baseball.
Who likes him? I don't understand it. I just don't get it. I don't even think Yankee fans like him.
No.
Meantime, like Bonds, McGuire, Sosa, obviously Bonds, Clemens, all those guys are shunned. Sosa comes out once every decade, does something with Jeremy Schaap from Dubai, but they can't even be around the sport.
And by the way,
if they let him in, and these other guys are not allowed in, come on.
That's ridiculous. That can't happen.
It can.
Yeah. I don't know.
So many of these people vote, as we know, vote on their personal likes, and they're protecting some fake integrity of the game, but somehow he's back in the good graces.
Yeah, it's not right. It's not right. If you – the idea of a Hall of Fame, baseball, football, any of them, you're a curator of the history of the sport. That's the job. And you can't write the history of baseball without Bonds, Clemens, McGuire, Sosa.
No.
You can't. They say the same thing about Pete Rose. We said the same thing about Joe Jackson. Like, come on. It's enough.
Kurt
You've
Schilling,
proved your
too.
point. You've proved your point on that front.
Schilling asked to be removed. He goes, move me to the veterans because those guys understand and played the game.
Yeah. Schilling's trickier because he has all the postseason stuff, but like from a regular season standpoint, he doesn't have a lot of them.
Right.
But postseason-wise, for sure. But these, there's nothing tricky about Barry Bonds.
But it's a
and Roger
popularity
Clemens.
contest. It always has been.
It's a pious popularity contest.
You're right.
That's what I said. The integrity or
yeah, nonsense.
Holier than thou.
Yeah, absolutely. The integrity of the game. All
That's
right.
why I like a man like Rip.
That's right. You and him have a lot in common.
Me and Rip?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Lots in common.
We're
Coming up at the top
men.
of the hour, you are both men. Tom Brady on his podcast addresses his free agency. We'll have that for you, and obviously a lot going on the NFL side of things. You listen to Cleveland Browns Daily on 850 ESPN Cleveland. Weather certainly is cold outside. Hot bath, hot shower certainly feels amazing. Why not transform your bathroom into a custom bath? It'll feel like a spa, kids. Let the Bath Authority make this a reality for you at a fraction of the cost of the competitors. The Bath Authority is Cleveland's premier bath and shower remodeler with expert factory-trained installers. Call now for $500 off your next custom bath or shower remodel. Call 216-220-8399 or go to thebathauthority.com, where affordability meets quality. It's the largest selection of bath projects, all made in the United States. Change your bathroom from outdated to outstanding. All sorts of tub-to-shower conversions, acrylic tubs that insulate and keep the heat in. Oh. Superior products with expert installers at the Bath Authority. 216-220-8399. Lots going on in the NFL after some quiet.
Tons going on today, and I think this quote sums up. Is this you talking right now? Hey, we have the worst cap situation in the league and a tight end playing quarterback, but have you tried the food in New Orleans? Because I know that you certainly do love the food down in New Orleans. But he's out of there.
Sean Payton out here within the hour. This was starting to leak out in the last 24-48 that this was a possibility. Initially, of course, every time you hear it, you just go, well, Cowboys. Makes all the sense. There was also the rumors about potentially going to Fox and doing the games. I don't know him well enough, and nor have I paid enough attention to the Saints over the years to know if he would be good in that role on television. Breaking that down, I have no idea. I know that's a great gig if you have the A-list.
Do you think you'd enjoy coming in and immediately being better than Brees, saying, "Oh, Drew"?
Feels like they're tight,
No,
though.
of course they're tight.
I mean, I don't know. Yeah, I don't know. I mean, he would get the Fox gig, according to some of that Marchand reporting we were talking about earlier, that if Aikman were to move with Michaels. I'd see there was such a short-term thing for Aikman.
It just doesn't make sense.
Al's not going to do it. Al's 70-some. Like, he's not going to continue to do it. So, like, why would you hop to do Thursday night when you –
and they're so good together.
And you're so established. Like
Buck and Aikman.
Yeah. I mean, why would you – yeah, I don't know.
I don't get it from his perspective. I don't like that.
The only thing I could think of, and I always wondered about this with him, is, he's more established. He's clearly the better franchise Cowboys quarterback, but Romo gets so much love. Like, I wonder if that bothers him at all. And even Jerry likes.
So going to work at Amazon Prime matters?
No, he could make more money.
So he could make Romo money because Fox is saying.
Fox is saying 12 to 13. Romo's in the 20s.
Yeah.
So, like, then he could even usurp Romo. He could go to I mean, what's Amazon care? Nothing. So they could pay him $100 million a year if they wanted to. Right. Yeah. So I think that's probably that's the only thing I could think of, is that maybe he's just like, you know what? Like, Romo named his kid Jones. Like, he's all in with Jerry. And I just wonder if that bugs Troy a little bit.
Jones, Romo.
I mean, Troy won things, so let's start there.
You're a known Romo
acknowledging one's a Hall of Famer, one won 3 Super Bowls, the other is not and didn't.
It is so interesting, though, and we could do this with Gibbe if we want, but I mean, Gibbe, do you even have any understanding of what Troy Aikman's stats were?
No, not at all.
Oh, I'll tell you what he is. He's the Terry Bradshaw of the of the 90s.
He made the play when they needed a play, but he was not the playmaker on the team.
Well, the game was different too.
Like, the game was so different.
The game was so different. You really can't compare eras in that.
All right. Okay,
to me, that's why it makes, like, Marino in the mid 80s throwing for 5,000 yards. Like, that's the most impressive thing that's ever been done.
All right. Let me just throw this out for Gibbe. So Troy Aikman's career begins in 1989, at the age of 23. It ends in the year 2000.
1-15, year one.
In the year 2000, that is when his career ends. So that is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12 seasons, Gibbe. 12 seasons.
By the way, we were just talking, have a quarterback and coach ever been so linked as Kingsbury and Murray, Johnson and Aikman? Johnson was hired. He had recruited Aikman at Miami. Aikman chose Oklahoma instead, and then Jimmy drafted him.
But how many years were they together?
Well, he drafted him. I mean, they won the 2 Super Bowls, and until Jerry fired Jimmy in after 93 after they won it.
Yeah.
So
because I'd say Peyton and Breeze too, because Peyton was instrumental in bringing Breeze to New Orleans.
Yeah,
he didn't draft him, but they were linked together.
In terms of them walking in together, though,
and it turns out after 1 year of no Breeze, I'm out.
I'll see you later.
All right, Gibbe.
As you were saying.
12 seasons. 12 seasons. Troy Aikman. How many times in 12 seasons did Troy Aikman throw for 20 or more touchdowns in 12 seasons? Just 20 touchdowns.
How many seasons?
Out of 12.
3.
You think he only threw for 20 touchdowns in 3 seasons?
It was your leading that got it there. You shouldn't have done it that way. You let it to where it forced him to guess low.
Yeah.
This is your only flaw in your resume is your questioning is you're leading. When you have people on the stand, you're leading.
Guess what? The answer? 1.
1.
Oh, I feel pretty good about my number then.
Yeah.
How many seasons out of 12 again did Troy Aikman? So we know that he's only been over 20 touchdowns once, which means most of his touchdown seasons are 9, 11, 11, 15, 13, 16, 12, 19, 12, 17, 7. How many seasons did he throw 10 or more interceptions out of 12?
5.
Let's see. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. That would be 9. 9 times.
That's staggering to think about it.
So how is he? Okay. In all fairness, then, how's that guy in the Hall of Fame?
Okay.
It's Bradshaw. It's the same as Bradshaw.
Because they won the Super Bowls. I want you to know, okay, he was a Pro Bowler in the year 1996. The year 1996, he completes 63% of his passes for 3,100 yards, 12 touchdowns, 13 picks. Troy Aikman, for his career, 61% passer, 165 touchdowns, 141 picks, 7 yards per attempt, averaged 199 yards per game for his career with a quarterback rating of 81.6. Troy Aikman never had a quarterback rating of 100 at any point in his career. It's a stunning thing. You think about, I mean, it really is. He was a product of being on tremendous football teams. I mean, he's a Pro Bowler in 94 when he throws for 2,600 yards and 12 touchdowns, 13 touchdowns, 12 picks. I mean, it's kind of wild. Like, if this was just blind, you would say this guy was even any good.
So he's I was just looking at some of the big picture stuff. He finished 5th in the AP voting one time, MVP. He was a Super Bowl MVP. What my hunch is on this,
How many All-Pros?
That would be go ahead, big 0, same
Zilch,
as you and I.
Zilch. So he's got
not
6
a Hall of
Pro
Famer.
Bowls. He's got 6 Pro Bowls. There's a Bradshaw part of this. Bradshaw's
they
similar
won.
because they won. But my guess is what this really is that before. You got to remember, like, there wasn't such a focus on statistical accumulation and all of this stuff that we look at now for all of it as there was in that time. And if you were somebody, this has always been my argument why there should be more Denver Broncos in the NFL Hall of Fame. There should be more Cleveland Browns in the NFL Hall of Fame. But there's no way that both receivers in Pittsburgh in the 70s are Hall of Famers. John
None.
Stallworth and Lynn Swann, they're not.
0.
Everybody on the Steelers was a Hall of Famer. How'd they ever lose? But it's because they were in those games, and so there was a group that if you were in those games, that's Hall of Fame. And my hunch is, and I haven't looked this up, so I don't know if this is true or not, my hunch is, and in my mind's eye, it feels like Aikman was really good in the Super Bowls. It feels like he was really good in the Super Bowls.
He won any Super Bowl MVPs?
He won one.
Hold, please.
He won in 92. That's the game. He was lights out in a game against Buffalo, I want to say. I want to say the one in Pasadena. Remember hitting Alvin Harper, Michael Irvin. I feel like he was lights out in that game.
Boy. And I understand.
1992 Super Bowl MVP. So you're correct there. Hold on. You want his postseason for his career? Postseason career, 63% completions, which is right on. 23 touchdowns, 17 picks. Right on. Quarterback rating, 88.
Wow. 11-4 on the quarterback record, though, and that's how
he was remarkable in the 1992 playoff run. 8 touchdowns, no picks, quarterback rating of 110 plus all 3 games. So he was electric there. And in the game where he beat the Niners, he throws for 322 and 2 touchdowns. In the Super Bowl, he throws for 273 and 4 scores on 22 of 30 passing.
That's it.
93, he was also good in the run up, although he threw 2 picks in the first round against Green Bay. They won. They beat the Niners, and in that game he throws for 177 yards, 2 touchdowns. They win 38-21, Steve Young. And then they beat the Bills in a game in which he throws for 207 yards, 1 pick, no touchdowns. Then they lose to San Francisco in 94. He throws 3 picks in that game.
Yeah.
And then when they beat Pittsburgh in the Super Bowl in 95, 209 yards, 1 touchdown. I mean,
yeah, and the career's not really that long either. It's just the 12 years. Like it's
never first-team All-Pro. It's kind of
no.
stunning. I mean, like Jim Kelly was a
I wouldn't have
first-team
had
All-Pro.
this. In the Guess the Stats world, I would not have had it.
That it was
being
this bleak. I remember
bleak.
it was.
I wouldn't have had it this bleak. I had very low expectations for it, and I knew that that he was the Bradshaw of our era.
Steve Young, for example, who was in the similar time. This is at the time that Aikman is in his heyday. Steve Young wins 3 straight first-team All-Pros. Steve Young, for his career, 232 touchdowns, 107 picks. With the Niners, it's 221 and 86. So we're talking about almost 3-1 in the same era that Aikman is going 1-1. Quarterback rating for Steve Young for his career with the Niners, 101.4. Remember, Aikman never had a 100 rating in any season. Young did it 4 seasons in a row. He led the NFL in quarterback rating 6 out of 7 seasons. I know he's really good.
No, I know. We have fun with it, but I know that you know that as well.
But I mean, like, to think that's in the same, that's apples to apples.
That's apples to apples. That's Young. Yeah, right. No question. This goes back to my other point. Guess the stats. How many Pro Bowls do you think Terry Bradshaw made in a 14-year career?
2.
Pro Bowls.
2.
You guys both went low because you knew it would be. He made 3. Bradshaw was one time a first-team All-Pro. One time was a first-team All-Pro.
Okay.
Total touchdowns, 212. Total interceptions, 210.
Yep.
Completion percentage for his career, 52%. Different era, obviously.
Can you give me his All-Pro season?
His All-Pro season was 78. They went 14-2. He threw for 3,000 yards, 28 touchdowns, 20 picks.
Still
those are
20
big numbers,
picks.
20 picks, yeah. 28 touchdowns, 20 picks. Again, different league. I mean, you could be physical with receivers. They get their heads knocked off. You couldn't throw in the middle of the field. All of that stuff. And Aikman and Young makes Young stuff even stand out even more when you think about juxtaposed to Manning. And it makes Marino stand out even more when you think what he did in 84.
All right, so you think about, like Aikman and Young obviously did all of their battles. You think about, what John Elway's numbers were at that time. Even Jim Kelly.
Yeah.
Jim Kelly was better.
Yeah, the Aikman one is interesting. It's America's team. It's the 3 Super Bowls. It's pretty good in the postseason, and it's all of that. It's that you grew up late Sunday window, summer all Madden, Aikman in Dallas against Cowboys Giants, Cowboys Redskins, Cowboys Eagles, Cowboys Niners. Like those are the games that you were fed.
Here's something.
And all those programs were good at that time.
All right, John Elway, real quick. John Elway, how many first-team All-Pros?
How many years did he play?
From 83 to 98. So is that 16?
16. I'll go 3.
I'll go 6.
0.
Not 1?
Not 1.
Jeez.
9-time Pro Bowler.
Maybe we've been using
never first-team All-Pro. How about this?
9-time Pro Bowl though, right?
In his first 10 years in the league, how many times did John Elway throw for 20 touchdowns in a season? First 10 years in the league.
2.
1. How many times in his first 10 years in the league did John Elway throw 12 or more interceptions?
Oh, a lot. He threw a lot of picks.
Every single one. In fact, John Elway, his top touchdown seasons were 3 of his last 4 years. He threw double-digit interceptions every single year in the league. His career, 56% completions, 300 touchdowns, 226 picks, 7 yards per attempt. Quarterback rating, his career quarterback rating, 79.9. John Elway had more. He finished with 6 straight years of over an 80 quarterback rating. Prior to that, he had 1 season with an 80 quarterback rating or more. Never had a 100 quarterback rating either.
So how do you compare that to what we're in now? I mean, now this is 7-on-7 in comparison.
Right.
Like you
because
can't compare the eras, and the talent. It's just a completely different brand of football.
So Jim Kelly, same era for Jim Kelly. Jim Kelly does have 1 first-team All-Pro. But Jim Kelly, 60% passer, averaged 220 yards a game, 237 touchdowns, 175 picks. These guys just threw significantly more picks. I mean, there's just no question about it. Quarterback rating for his career, 84.4. 1 year, though, where it was 101, led the league in 1990. It was first-team All-Pro in 91. That season, he throws for 3,844 yards, 33 touchdowns, 7 picks.
It was a big deal on the trading card when you'd see a guy with a rating of 100. And I remember Steve Young started to stack those. It was like no one has done this.
He did 4 years in a row.
No one has done that. No one had stacked it that way. Yeah, that was fun. It's wild the way you perceive it and then the reality of it all. Coming up next, speaking of a guy who statistically lived through the absolute boom of the quarterback generation, it's Tom Brady. Some of his thoughts on what he's going to do next and how that could affect the rest of the league, including the situation with New Orleans and the Saints. We'll get to all of that coming up next. You'll listen to Cleveland Browns Daily on 850 ESPN Cleveland. Rumpke Waste Recycling, family owned and operated. Whether you join them as a customer or as an employee, you're going to become part of the family. Visit rumpke.com to learn more on that front. Tom Brady, and one thing we know about, whatever his decision is going to be, the presentation of it will be curated by him. There will be content built around it. He's done this before. He'll do it again. And if he does retire or decides to keep playing.
It feels like this actually might be it. I don't know why. It just kind of feels like it might be it.
He's 45, so, it's not unreasonable to think. He was on his own podcast on SiriusXM with Jim Gray, who somehow is still doing these gigs. God bless him. Here's Brady on his thoughts on the future and where he'll go from here.
Tom, you were asked right after.
You guys are down 5 minutes.
You said you're going to take some time and you will decompress. When will you begin that process, and how will that go with your review?
Well, I think the point is there's no really rush for me to figure out what's next. I'll know when I know. and it's a day after the season. So I think for all of us, we can all decompress a bit. It's been 6 straight months of football every day, consumed by, day in and day out football. And I think now it's just some time to spend some time with my family and spend some time with, my kids. And,
Hello.
Hi, Vivi.
I can't hear you. Said hi, Vivi.
Hi.
It's my little angel. Get some time with her and we had waffles together this morning, which is really nice. And you know what? I think as I've gotten older, I think the best part is football is extremely important in my life, and it means a lot to me. And I care a lot about what we're trying to accomplish as a team, and I care a lot about my teammates. And the biggest difference now that I'm older is I have kids now too, and I care about them a lot as well. And, they've been my biggest supporters. My wife is my biggest supporter. It pains her to see me get hit out there. And, she deserves what she needs from me as a husband. And my kids deserve what they need from me as a dad. And, I'm going to spend some time with them and give them what they need, because they've really been giving me what I need the last 6 months to do what I love to do. And, I said this a few years ago. It's what relationships are all about. It's not always what I want. It's what we want as a family. And, I'm going to spend a lot of time with them and then, figure out in the future what's next.
And we've had a lot of fun with this, and you've taken it all in stride and been a great sport about it. You're 44 years old, Tom. You're playing professional football with guys half your age.
Yeah.
You're taunting guys now. Ask your dad about me. I played against him. But you're 44 years old. You've said you wanted to play till 45. This year you were at the top of your game. You led all the statistical categories for quarterbacks. So it's clear you can still continue to play this game at the level you want to play. You don't suck, and that's when you said you'd quit.
Yeah.
So it kind of comes down to what you just mentioned about family. Would you like a farewell tour? Would you like to be able to say goodbye? Would you like to compete one more time and know that you're taking it all in that vein, as opposed to possibly just leaving and not having that preparation?
I think that would be distracting for me. I'm really ultimate. My enjoyment comes from not a recognition of kind of what I've accomplished as a player in the league. My enjoyment comes from the competition. So more so than anything, even yesterday, I was thinking about competing. I was thinking about, this whole year about competing. I wasn't thinking about anything other than that. So when the time comes to think about post-career and second career, I'll think about those things. And it's just when you're 44, I guess you get asked about that a lot. And, a lot of people thought I was done playing football in 2015. A lot of people in 2016 said you're done. A lot of people in 2018, when I left the Patriots, they said you're done. So
you had a boss in 2000 who thought you'd never make it, so you would be done before you started.
Yeah, exactly. So, I think for me, it's every year I just have to make sure that have the ability to commit to what the team really needs. And that's really important to me. The team doesn't deserve anything less than my best. And if I feel like I'm not committed to that, or I can't play at a championship level, then you got to give someone else a chance to play. And, we'll see. Again, there's a long time between now and the start of next football season. And, I've got to really figure those things out, which is probably natural for anyone. And at the same time, I would say this. We never know what's going to happen in the future. We really don't. I mean, Kobe Bryant, a friend of ours, God rest his soul. You think you're going to live forever. We're not. We think we're going to play forever. We're not. What can we do? We can enjoy the moments that we have. And as difficult as it was to lose the game yesterday, I was glad I played in it, and I was glad I was a part of it. And as challenging as the season was, I was glad I played and glad I participated, because I'm living my life, and I'm not just counting the days. So my days are meaningful to me. I'm going to try to keep them meaningful.
Back in 30.
And, in the meantime, I'm going to do as best I can to enjoy, the time that I have not playing football, because that's equally important. Playing football, I get so much joy from. I love it. But not playing football, there's a lot of joy in that for me also now, too, with my kids getting older and seeing them develop and grow. So all these things need to be considered, and they will be. And, the funny part is I always said most guys retire and then move to Florida. I'm already in Florida, so it's really confusing even to me.
Well, he ain't going to retire in Florida. He's not going to live in Jeter's house.
No.
Yeah. Where does he end up, L.A. or New York?
feel like California. Why not Napa? He's Bay Area Brady. Why don't you go Napa?
I think that's probably that's what I would do. My guess is he wants to be a little more dialed into. He's probably going to get into content and stuff.
Gotta be L.A. then.
Yeah, I would think it'd be L.A.
He's gonna be in California.
Yeah,
he's a California guy.
Yeah, and his the previous, I guess Bridget Moynihan, not wife, but she's New York based though. But I'm sure she could. She's an actress, so she could relocate. Maybe, who knows? But that's his oldest son is there.
Let me just throw this out at you.
Hit me.
I got a call from a source.
Okay.
In the Bay Area.
Okay.
And I don't want it's an anonymous source.
Anonymous source in the Bay Area.
Yes.
Okay. Very good.
So I'm going to try to recreate that
Yep.
call for you.
Yep.
This is to protect the
anonymity.
Yeah.
Yep.
Nerd. Word is that Brady's considering playing one more year with the Niners. That's what everybody's talking about. He's going to come here 1 year, win a Super Bowl, then retire. Brady. Nerd.
That's a lot of spumoni.
Very anonymous. But apparently there is talk.
It's interesting. Usually when you do an anonymous source or have anonymous content, not only is the face hidden, but also the voice.
Well, I thought Gibby was going to he's got this fancy board.
The voice
so
mixer.
I thought he was going to pop it around my voice wasn't
Yeah, because that was a specific
natural.
voice.
I am trying to monitor stream, radio, computer today, and headphones.
How's it going?
This is why you're the head
It's
honcho.
just awesome. I think I should go
Well,
to the bar. I'm going to start bringing alcohol.
monitoring
I think I should
manager.
go to the bar. What do you think, Brady?
I'm going with my source. I think he goes to the Niners 1 year.
Well, he's under contract with the Bucks, so
They figure it out.
they sort it out, and he gets to play for the team of his childhood.
Yeah.
I mean, he would look ridiculous in that uniform.
Oh, my God.
I mean, it really would.
Garoppolo's going to be moving on anyway. You can wait 1 more year for Trey Lance if you have Tom Brady.
Yeah. Yeah.
Apparently, the Garoppolo market is robust.
Well, I would say that it probably is. I think, Watson, all those guys, there's going to be a good. That's why I said yesterday with Rodgers, like, it'd be a perfect time to trade him. You're not going to get more for him than right now. What they could get for him based on what we saw this weekend in the NFL.
Yep.
You saw Jim Irsay's comments.
I didn't.
You didn't? This morning he went on Twitter.
Oh, yeah.
If you don't have a quarterback who can get you 30 points in regulation, what was the other thing? There was one other qualification to it. If you don't have a quarterback who can get you 30 points in regulation.
It was about a defense not giving up.
And a defense not giving up 30, you don't have a chance. That's what we need, basically.
Oh, Carson, good morning.
Right. Good to see you.
Good to see you.
Does he deliver, pastries every morning to Andrew Luck's house, just begging him? How about now?
No, you saw him.
I don't know. Do you
He
want
looks like
Sasquatch coming back?
Yes.
He is more likely to solve a crime right now than he is to lead a team to a Super Bowl. He looks like Watson.
He does. It's an interesting look. He's always got an interesting facial look. But my guess is if I'm Irsay, I'm at his house every day. He still lives in Indy. For a kid who grew up in Texas and played college ball in Palo Alto, and he still lives in Indy.
So
give me the tweet.
Here's Irsay's tweet. You can see clear as day in the final 8 NFL team playoffs. You need a QB and offense who can score 30 or more in regulation, and a defense that can hold an opponent under 30.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No pressure, Chris Ballard.
Yeah. Good luck. Good luck finding that. I'll tell you what. So we have 9 coaching openings now with the Sean Payton news. One of those is in Jacksonville, and that's because it was a disaster with Urban Meyer. Urban, the former Buckeye coach, was on his buddy Dan Dockich's show, and this goes back to Gibby's days at BGSU. So we can play some of this for you. You'll hear just how misguided Urban was when it came to what he knew and didn't know about coaching in the National Football League. I believe I had that. You listen to Cleveland Browns Daily on 850 ESPN Cleveland. OBM, Ohio Business Machine, preferred copier provider of the Cleveland Browns. They have all the X's and O's for your office. Call 216-485-2000 or visit ohiobusinessmachines.com. When Urban Meyer was hired last year in Jacksonville, and it was the only place that he was going to go, it made all the sense in the world. What was the most surprising thing that I said on this show about the reality of that situation? To you, someone who's been around the league a long time.
That he didn't have any understanding of how the NFL game was played, of how the NFL operation worked in terms of practice time, that you couldn't just go recruit whoever you wanted and bring them into your program.
Yeah.
That he didn't understand the importance clearly of coordinators and development of players at the professional level, that frankly, that he understood nothing about what it was like to be a head coach in the National Football League in the year 2021. That
aside from it being football,
right,
he would have absolutely no knowledge of what the NFL game was about. And I said this at the time. I'm sure it's true. I don't know that he's ever watched an NFL game previous to coaching in an NFL game, as long as he's been a college coach. Like, in terms, I'm sure he watches the Super Bowl, the Super Bowl party. But I mean, like, really follow the league, watch the league. My guess is he hadn't, because all he did was recruit. That's all he did. Just recruited.
Yeah,
that's it.
Great at it.
And he was great at it. He's the 1A, best college coach the last 30 years, 1A.
Yep.
Behind Saban. So Urban it went exactly as predicted. It would go. With him being removed and it not going well. He's been pretty quiet since the dismissal. He went on his buddy Dan Dockich's podcast on Outkick, and they were at Bowling Green together. Dockich was with hoops and Urban was at basketball, so they go back a long time. But Urban still has a lot of great friends, BG guys, because I see him up in the summer up at the lake. He still goes up every summer. So there's a lot of loyalty still going all the way back to that time at Bowling Green. So Dockich asks him about the college to pro transition. Here's a little bit of that conversation.
I'm curious from your standpoint. People say, well, a college coach can't coach in the NFL. A college coach doesn't understand the NFL. I've thought to myself, wait a second here. What was your take on that? What was the difference? And what do you think about that stigma?
Well, I certainly didn't help it. It didn't do very well, and took over a situation where we lost a bunch of games, and we had one of the best players in recent history. And I'll tell you, Dan, there is a lot different. It is a lot different. Just the amount of time you get with your quarterback, or not the quarterback, just the amount of time you get with your team, the roster management, how you practice, the amount of reps you get before you go play a game, to me was shockingly low. For example, we would practice, you maybe get 1 or 2 reps of something. Next thing you know, you're calling it a game. In college, you never do that. In college, you're going to get at least a dozen, opportunities to practice that before you ask a player to go do it in the game. So there are a lot of differences. It'd be too long to sit there and go through it now, but there are.
Well, you mentioned earlier, you mentioned the analytics of the whole thing as well.
Yeah, just the time management.
Right.
And, and you see in college, the reality is you spend now probably 75% of your time recruiting. And in professional football, there's no recruiting. And so it's all scheme and it's all roster management. You're getting guys rolling in on your organization on a Tuesday and they're going to play for you on Sunday. So it's just there is some obvious differences to the two games.
Yep. And differences that I think he was unaware of.
How is that actually possible? How do you go through an interview process? And this I would put this back on the owners.
Yeah.
Where you do not even get a requisite or acquire the knowledge that your coach has a requisite understanding of the task at hand.
So this was a Tony Khan operation led. Okay, Shad's son, he's the guy with AEW, right? Okay. So
coming to Cleveland tomorrow.
Tony Khan was the big push on this.
Okay.
Shad was all for it. Urban had been the apple of his eye forever. So you say, well, how does this happen? Well, what they were trying to build in Jacksonville and have for a long time is brand identity. They're trying to make headway. They're trying to get buildings built.
Yep.
They had that facilities thing that they're trying to build with the Four Seasons attached to it. They're trying to get that passed. There were all these things that they were trying to get built. And Urban Meyer is a salesman. I mean, I remember him at Sawgrass at TPC last year, like walking around in a Jaguars polo at TPC and going, he thinks he's recruiting. Like, can you imagine, like, Stefanski walking around at Firestone in a Browns polo, he'd be incognito if he was walking around. He wouldn't be where cameras are.
No.
Wouldn't be. And that goes for Belichick. That goes for 99% of the guys in the league. They stay off the grid. They're not going to those things. Urban treated it like a college thing. He's walking around like that. So I think that's part of how that happens. And I think the other thing that they were hoping for in Jacksonville is that he would be a culture fit, that he would be a culture creator. And he is that. He is a culture creator. But it doesn't work if you don't have the other acumen and if you're ill-prepared for the rest of it.
If players think that you don't know what hell you're doing, they're not going to be interested. You're going to be like, this is a joke.
Right. And you had that preseason game where, like, he was trying to win a preseason game and was mad that they weren't trying to score on in the preseason.
But then
it's just crazy.
Let me ask you this. How much do they get? You get OTAs. You get training camp. You get practices, all of this. And he was making it sound like he doesn't get to rep any plays?
Yeah, I don't know. I mean,
is there significantly more practice in college?
Well, you get spring practice, which is, months. A full month, like 4 weeks. You get basically summer workouts, and they're not supposed to practice, but that essentially, is, Urban can't be there, but his strength guy is, and you overlook everything. And then you get fall camp, which in college is shorter than training camp, but it's not. It's just practice. You don't have games in there either. You don't have preseason games. Like you're just practicing every week. And then the biggest difference would be the amount of hours you're allowed to practice. In the NFL, college, you can do 3-hour practice, do whatever you want.
While he is not wrong that the college game is 75% recruiting, somebody who has been in that mode for a decade is not going to be able to all of a sudden come into a situation where it's actually all about scheme, roster management, thinking out plans, not just, we're going to restock 5-star recruits at every single position and let them battle it out to see who gets to play. We've got to figure out what pieces fit into this puzzle. It's just it was hiring negligence and it was coaching negligence. And what you have to hope as a Jacksonville Jaguars fan now is that did not put Trevor Lawrence into bad habits, bad spaces, all of those things, which it may have. Now, you take some comfort in the fact that last game they beat Indy, who needed to beat them. He starts that game 11 for 11, if I recall correctly. And so he's still that guy, hopefully, in a division that should be wide open going forward. I mean, I think we've seen with the Titans with Tannehill, and I think Tannehill's a very good quarterback, but his ceiling,
we've reached it.
They'll always make the playoffs with him and Derrick Henry, but can they win it?
There's a clock ticking on that too with Henry. First time he's been hurt, all of those things. The other thing that I thought the two things that would bug him the most was the lack of control. I thought the lack of control would bug him. I think it would bug. He was a guy who always pitted coaches against coaches for competition, player against player for competition. I thought that would bug him, and him having the ultimate power over everything and everybody having to answer to him. And I thought that losing would bug him. I knew the losing would bug him because I know how he is with that. Dockich asked him about that. Here's what he had to say about the losing.
I went back and I read, your comments to Ian Rappaport about, losing grinds you. Losing almost killed me. And I'm being literal. It literally almost killed me. I got depression. I had to sleep on. I knew we couldn't win. What was that like for you?
Yeah, it was the worst experience I've had in my professional lifetime. Is that and what really got me, it's almost, I don't want to say people accept it. I mean, it was, you lose a game and you just keep, I would seriously have self-talk. I went through that whole depression thing too, where, I stare at the ceilings and and are we doing everything possible? Because I really believe we had a roster good enough to win games. And I just don't think we did a great job. And it just eats away at your soul. And I tried to train myself to say, okay, it happens in the NFL. At one point, how about this? One point, the Jaguars lost 20 in a row. Think about that.
Right.
20 games you're leaving the field where you lost. And we lost 5 in a row at one point. And but that was, I remember I was just, really couldn't function. I was trying to just rally myself up in our team. I was in charge of the team, obviously. And then we won 2 out of 3. And I really felt like we flipped that thing. Our defense was playing excellent. At one point, our defense was number 1 in the league. We held Josh Allen to 6 points, 2 field goals, and playing high-level football. Offense, we were really coming, and then we quit scoring points. We just really struggled offensively, and it went on another losing streak. And that just, you know me very well, Dan, and I know you, and I really struggled with that.
that he's still coaching Jacksonville if that incident in Dublin didn't happen?
No.
You think either way?
I think as of today, because the season's over, no way. Come on. They had to know this guy's clueless.
Yeah, I just
As an
think that
NFL
that
coach.
allowed for, that incident allowed for the cover. That just it
For
just
sure, but I think that they would not
allowed
have gone
for it
into
to.
year 2 of Trevor Lawrence's career with him as the coach, no matter what.
Yeah, it was always going to be the only way it was going to work is if he was the culture man and he hired great coordinators and let them coordinate and stayed out of their business and had a great personnel man who he respected. And the stuff with Balky, that's not great either. That was forced on him, and that was a disaster. But that should have been somebody who he really like maybe a veteran guy who he really respected. That's your roadmap for him to be successful in the league, and they did none of it. So,
It's wild. It's wild. I mean, the odds that you could have gotten, okay, the odds that you could have gotten prior to this season that neither John Gruden nor Urban Meyer would be coaching the Raiders and Jags respectively going into 2022. Forget the fact. And then add on top of it, neither would make it through 2021.
Yeah.
And Gruden's on a 10-year, $100 million deal. Urban's in the first year of his deal.
no chance.
None. And yet, here we are.
Yeah.
But, I mean, that interview, and what I think is fascinating about that is he's very open and forthright about what he did not know, but I think it's also a stunning admission of, like,
it's a stunning admission of what you didn't know.
What you didn't know and how you thought that you could possibly come in at this level of football and compete with no knowledge of what your job even was, let alone what the jobs of everybody else in your organization had to be.
Yeah. Yeah. It's really remarkable. Yeah. And again, I appreciate the candor. Like, he's incredibly honest in this, of his shortcomings. At one point he said, well, I didn't help the perception any. Like it's
right.
But geez, I mean, you got to have some preparation. I said it at the time. You would have been better off interviewing the other Buckeye coach. Interview Ryan Day. Urban go back to coaching Ohio State. That would have been the better win for the Jaguars, 100% out of 100.
That's what's so crazy about this. But not only that, I remember you told me or told our listeners at the time, the person whose counsel he sought out was Jimmy Johnson.
Correct.
Who has not been in the league for how long?
And when Jimmy was in the league, he had advantages because he had scouted all of college because he was a coach at Miami.
Right.
And nobody had those staffs. Yeah, it was wild. Wild. So much more to come. You'll see Cleveland Browns Daily on 850 ESPN Cleveland. If a car, truck, or motorcycle accident caused your injury, call the injury lawyers at 1-800-ELK Ohio for a free case review. Elk & Elk's a proud partner of your Cleveland Browns. Tomorrow on the program, we'll get into Daniel Jeremiah's mock 1.0. You'll have that to look forward to, which is very, very nice on that front. And it looks like we're going to have a lot of news in the NFL over the next 24 hours.
I mean, how do we not?
Usually the first pebble and then the avalanche. So
yeah, we could have, Kwesi Adolfo-Mensah. That news could probably come out by today, by 5 o'clock. I would imagine that the Vikings will
3:07 maybe
make that. Well, this is on the Vikings.
Oh, it's on the Vikings. So they may actually wait for tomorrow for MVD Daily.
MVD is 3 to 5 there, so
that's true. So they'll make sure it's in the window.
Spot. Yeah,
they'll make sure it's in the window, right in the sweet spot. The next level is coming up next. Thanks for listening, everybody. Cleveland Browns Daily, 850 ESPN Cleveland.